Hi everyone, this video is going to be about how to do research for your final paper. The first thing you need to do is familiarize yourself with the instructions for the paper. To do so, click on week 5 and then scroll down and you will see the final paper instructions here. It says, the final paper is a discussion of the relationships between the contemporary human, religious belief, and nature. The following question should guide your paper. Is the contemporary human fundamentally alienated from nature? Defend your answer to this question and propose a course of action in response. If you believe that most people today are alienated from nature, then 1. Analyze the root cause of the alienation, and 2. Defend your own solution for overcoming alienation. On the other hand, if you believe most people today are not alienated from nature, then 1. Defend a hypothesis about why so many people falsely think we are alienated, and 2. Determine how you would convince them that we are not alienated. Notice that the overarching question of alienation leads to other questions. As you think about your response to this prompt, consider using the following questions to guide your analysis and arguments. You need not answer all of them in writing, but it will be impossible to write a good paper if you have not at least thought through these issues. Okay, let's stop there. The first thing we need to do is decide whether or not we're going to go with choice A or choice B. So choice A, you're agreeing with the idea that humans are fundamentally alienated from nature, and you're going to do these two things. Analyze the root cause of the alienation and defend your own solution for overcoming it. Or B, you're going to go against that claim, say that humans are not alienated from nature. You're going to explain why so many people think that we are alienated and determine how would you convince them that we are not alienated. So the first thing you need to do is decide between these two outcomes. You can then use the following questions here as guidelines for your paper. Notice the paper has to be 8 to 10 pages in length. Make sure that you don't quadruple space things. Make sure that everything is formatted properly. If it's not, I will do so to ensure that everything has been done properly. Utilize APA citation style and all that. Okay, so the first thing you should do is you should go to the library. To do so, click on the library tab to the left. Upon entering the library, select Find Articles and More, and then Databases A to Z. Now, I'm going to show you 3 things that I think will help you with research. First is called the EBSCOhost. So we go to the letter E, and we see the link for the EBSCOhost. Select the EBSCOhost. Now this is a database full of full-length textbooks that you can research or search. So let's just look up nature. If we search nature, we're brought to multiple resources about nature. Moral Authority of Nature, that looks like a pretty good book for what we're going for. Because of the topic of this assignment, Nature, God, and Humanity, Envisioning and Ethics of Nature. Let's check that one out. It seems to align nicely. The Wild God. Okay, so we can see when we go into the EBSCOhost, this is the book. To the right, you'll be able to automatically toggle to different portions of the book. So here I selected the contents, and so you can look at the contents. To go page by page, you select this arrow, and it'll take you to the next page. We have Human Nature and Good, The Fellowship of Creation, The Big Hug. All of these articles or portions of the textbook appear to be right on point with what we're doing here. If you want to go to part 1 itself, you can select here, part 1, The Ethics of Nature, and then go page by page. And you can read it. If you'd like to blow up the image because it's too small, you can choose 150. That'll take you to 150%. You can choose 200. And then that'll take you to about the full size if you had the book with you. You can search the bibliography, you can search the index, which is a good way to find other articles usually that relate to the topic. Okay, so let's go back to the search. So, okay, we choose search and we're back. So you can see here that there are, if you just search the word nature, there are literally thousands of resources that you can use. You probably don't need to go anywhere else. But let me show you a few more options. If we go back to the library, I find that this is easier instead of just pushing back. Again, we're taken to this page, find articles and more. Another database I'd like to show you is called JSTOR. So we scroll down to J, or you can select J at the top, and we'll go to JSTOR. So JSTOR is a good article database. So let's look up nature, and then let's do an advanced search here where we use the word and. Let's look up nature and alienation, and then search. Actually, let's go back. Let's select include only content I can access. Make sure that that's selected so that you don't get a list of articles that you don't have access to. So we select that, and then we can go down and look at articles that hopefully relate to this topic. Here might be a good example: feminist community building in the city of Juarez, a local cultural alternative to the structural violence of globalization. You might know that Juarez is an extremely violent border town that has a lot of really bad stuff going on: drug trafficking, human trafficking, murder of women in particular, and small girls. But anyway, so again, it looks like we have some good sources here. Now, again, you might need to hone your search. To do so, you can use different words. So you could say nature or alienation. You could look up agrarianism and search that. Again, make sure that you include links to external or to content that you can access. Over here, we can look up agrarianism. Let's say that we wanted to support our claim that people are alienated from nature, but then we want to defend our own solution, and our solution is agrarianism. Then we can look up agrarianism in multiple places and then read articles based on that. So here you see we've got Wendell Berry, some essays there. We've got the Essential Agrarian Reader, which is WRSBA, which is actually the book that we had to read an article. We had to read WRSBA's introduction from this. So if we want to go in here. Now let's go back to JSTOR. Okay, Mexican agrarianism, the language of agrarianism in Manitoba. So we have a couple articles here that seem to be more historical. But again, we have articles that relate to the topic of agrarianism. And here we see that this Essential Agrarian Reader is actually a series of articles by different famous writers on the topic and thinkers. And you could utilize any of these individual essays to support your position. Again, we can go back to the search and then look at other textbooks or academic books that relate to the topic of agrarianism. Now, of course, some of these are not going to work out for you. But again, this is how you start research. Notice the works cited here. If a book gives you a works cited page, it's often good to go in and see the books and articles that the person, him or herself, has cited. Kwame Anthony Appiah is a famous contemporary philosopher who writes a lot about race, philosophy of race and ethnicity and justice. But anyway, you can always use these as examples or as things to do research on. So going to work, notice the Agrarian Reader, which we have open or we have access to. Another turn of the crank. Okay, let's see if that is a Windleberry. Let's see if we have access to that. So another turn of the crank. So Windleberry work. Well, we don't know. So these must be all works that reference that. So let's go to this first one because this looks like a Windleberry work. Oh, okay. Abbreviations. So another turn of the crank is referenced in this book, but it's probably not in the book itself. So maybe we don't have access to that. And that's fine. We're not going to have access to everything. Let's say that you wanted deep ecology as an alternative vision. Then we have articles here in JSTOR on deep ecology. We can go back here and we can search in our eBrary deep ecology. And it will take us to books that relate, or at least in which deep ecology is mentioned. Political theology of nature. That sounds like it's completely aligned with the course content in terms of religion, politics, and the environment. All right, there's one more thing I'd like to show you, and I'm not going to go into detail here, but another good resource for humanities articles is the EBSCOhost database. So find articles and more. Database is A to Z. Again, you can choose by the letter up here. The EBSCOhost is the first one under E. It's very similar to JSTOR. Here you can search for deep ecology, just like you could on JSTOR, agrarianism, or anything else that you might want to search for. We don't have access to everything on EBSCOhost, but the best way, if you're interested in an article, just look for this PDF full text. If it has that, or HTML full text, you'll be able to select it and then download the full text of the article. To save a PDF from here, you go down to the bottom right and hover, and you'll see this little hard disk, what looks like an old floppy disk. You select that, and then you can just say like deep ecology or whatever it is, and then save it anywhere on your computer if you want to save it on the desktop or anything like that. So that's how you save a PDF. Again, see how it disappears. If you just come over to the right in this view and hover, then these will all appear. You can print it, you can zoom in, zoom out, you can change orientations and different things like that. So those are 3 databases that you can use in your search. I'm going to go back one more time, try to keep this video as short as possible. But remember, when you're answering prompts for a final paper, be sure to do everything that the prompt asks. Here you have to answer these 2 questions if you're going to defend the idea that humans are alienated from nature. Focus in on those 2 questions and answer them to the best of your ability. Remember, when you defend a solution, what you're doing is you're presenting an argument. So you need to have factual evidence and logical reasoning that support your position. You can't just say, oh yeah, we're alienated from nature, and the solution is we need to get more in touch with nature. That's the solution. Well, that doesn't really tell me much at all. Remember also that specific is terrific. It's always better to provide specific details, specific factual information, specific arguments, rather than generalized comments. It's much easier to present generalized comments because then you don't have to explain what you're saying. But again, specificity is of the utmost importance here. And then remember, you can use these questions to help guide your search in relation to these 2. So, analyze the root cause of the alienation. Okay, I believe that the root cause of the alienation of the human from nature is ... Now, what causes that separation? So what is it about that thing that causes the separation from nature? How ought the human spirit respond to nature and dwell within it? Okay, so if we're going to say that we are alienated, then here in the second part, how can we overcome the alienation? Well, we have to dwell within the world in a different way. And how do we go about doing that? Don't just say, oh, we need to live in harmony and peacefulness and equality. Tell me specific details about how humans can do that, reinforcing your own ideas with the ideas of others who've come before you or who have written before you. Are there some cultures that naturally connect more with nature? If so, what might we learn from them? Okay, again, you might take a totally different route, and you might support your position or your solution for overcoming alienation by pointing to other cultures that seem to connect more with nature. But at the same time, be careful. Don't just merely say, oh yeah, of course, indigenous cultures always connect more with nature because, they're more natural, right? Or because that would be begging the question, but or because they live outside and we live indoors. Okay, well, what about living outside makes someone more connected with nature? What about hunting and gathering makes someone more connected with nature rather than living in a city? At the same time, it's important to back up claims with factual evidence. Oftentimes there is, as we've learned in this course, there's kind of an idealized image of indigenous culture as without any evidence per se for that idealization. Oh, they didn't have any need for money or for property rights or anything like that. Okay, that might be true, but again, we need to see evidence that that's the case. It's not mere folk wisdom that has been handed down over time that tends to distort the truth of these situations and these cultures. But anyway, again, answer these two questions as fully as possible, utilizing these questions along the way to help answer those questions. Be sure again to pay attention to all the details of the prompt. Notice that your paper should be 8 to 10 pages. That's double spaced, no quadruple spacing. That is Garamond or Times New Roman. Font, that's with 1-inch margins, all according to APA. You can utilize the APA style, or you must utilize APA style. You must include at least 8 scholarly sources, including a minimum of 6 from the Ashford Library. I don't want to see Wikipedia. I don't want to see Billy Bob's blog on nature. You have plenty, as I've shown you, plenty of resources within the eBrary, JSTOR, and EBSCOhost. In fact, I'd be tickled to death if you only use these 3 search engines and only resources all 8 of your resources just came from those search engines. The final thing I'll point you to is the Writing Center at Ashford. So the Writing Center in this course it includes Chapter 7, an APA checklist, formatting headings in APA. It tells you how to do everything. I expect you to have proper headings on each page. I expect you to have proper everything. So again, the APA checklist will allow you to make sure that your title page is okay, that you have a proper running head, citations, and then the citation and reference guide. Utilize this for the different types of books and articles that you have. It tells you how to order citations and then how to complete citations, and it gives you examples of proper citations for different types of articles. If you search Ashford Writing Center, we are going to a synchronous Ashford Writing Center, and you select the new Ashford Writing Center. You can then select this little link here, and it will take you to our new Writing Center, and here you can go to Writing Resources, and then the APA checklists, headings, citation and reference guide, everything is here, and it might be a little bit easier to navigate here. And they give you examples again, and also a printable PDF that you can print out so that you you can have something close by if you don't have access to your computer and you're doing your research. Okay, I hope that that's helped you with different methods of how to do research at Ashford and how to successfully complete your paper. I look forward to seeing your papers. Remember to pay attention to all the small details, answer all the questions. Specific is terrific, and back up all of your claims with as much factual evidence and logical reasoning as you can find. Again, good luck, and I look forward to seeing your work.